From the last part, we unearthed the brutal facts of soaring unemployment in Kaliningrad as Vladimir Putin's grand promise of stability crumbles, shattering trust in his loyal middle class. Now, picture this shocking revelation. Could the 21.7% spike in joblessness since early this year, pushing figures to a staggering 1,949 unemployed souls, be the secret weapon dismantling Putin's empire from within? That jump isn't mere data. It's a deafening collapse of Kaliningrad's skilled middle class. Regional voices admit it outright. Over 70% of those out of work are women past 40, accountants, managers, economists. Why does it sting so deep? Imagine a business gasping for air, its financial veins constricting. First to go? Professionals like these, the lifeblood of operations. It screams that Putin's relentless funding of military ventures has scorched the economy, plunging civilian worlds into icy voids. This reeks of hidden recession, where growth hides under layers of despair. These seasoned women often shoulder family burdens as a steady second income. Their sudden idleness rips apart household finances, turning cozy homes into battlegrounds of silent fury. Not roaring crowds in the streets. No. It's the chilling whisper of betrayal echoing in empty kitchens, the most lethal poison for Putin's grip. And their agony shows in the stretched-out hunt for jobs. What was a brisk 3 months now drags to 7 in the second quarter of 2025. Pause. Visualize that manager's trembling hands clutching bills, her family's hunger pangs gnawing like wolves at midnight. Barren pantries, devoid of even basic foods. It mirrors the nation's grim stats, Russians consuming less, their plates lighter. Putin decrees the dismissal of recession, just as he erased war from tongues. Yet, can any edict wipe away the desperation in a mother's gaze, her child without milk for 7 endless months? The turmoil sprawls beyond Kaliningrad's heart. In secluded eastern corners like Slavsk, Ozersk, Krasnoznamensk, agricultural havens, 2 or 3 desperate souls claw for each spot. Even officials scramble, powerless against the flood. This spark ignites a fiery chain reaction, brain drain, the ultimate siege on Putin's fortress. But what twist lurks next, as young engineers flee to NATO lands, leaving his arsenal vulnerable and echoing with the ghosts of unfinished wars? The unemployment crisis grips Kaliningrad's core, forcing families to confront empty shelves where once there was hope. This isn't just about numbers, it's the quiet fury of professionals who trusted Putin's vision, now facing a nightmare where jobs vanish like smoke. But as families starve in silence, the real storm brews in distant farmlands, unleashing a catastrophe that could shatter the region's soul. Imagine fields whispering under a relentless sun, where dreams wither and desperation blooms. In quieter corners of Kaliningrad, like the rolling farmlands of Slavsk, Ozersk, and Krasnoznamensk, the agony is raw and palpable. 2 or 3 desperate souls scramble for each empty job posting, their footsteps echoing on cracked dirt paths. Can local leaders do anything to untangle this mess? Feel the dust choking their lungs, the sweat sticking like betrayal. This imbalance mocks any attempt at control, igniting a wildfire of despair. It's not isolated, it's the spark that triggers an even deadlier wave, siphoning away the brains that keep Kaliningrad alive, leaving a hollow shell behind. Putin's war machine churns out funds for vital sectors, yet the fog of social and political dread turns that money into dust. Employers in Kaliningrad grapple with a ruthless labor drought, slashing productivity like a knife through fragile threads. Is this the regime's grand collapse in disguise? Picture the frantic buzz of factories, the acrid smell of failed ventures, hands trembling over unpaid bills. To lure talent, they dangle inflated wages, inflating costs artificially and straining the economy's weary heart. Mechanical engineering now clings to an average of 80,000 rubles per month, a pitiful lifeline. General vacancies have surged 82% in just 4 years, fueled by Putin's frantic bids to prop up the conflict's heavy machinery. Yet, these raises can't stem the tide, young minds flee, their bags heavy with unspoken contempt. Who is abandoning ship? Highly skilled IT experts, engineers, and factory workers between 25 and 44, choosing exile over illusions. They cite not pay, but safety fears, political oppression, and quests for better lives. Hear the whisper of engines idling at borders, the sour taste of disillusion on their tongues. This exodus screams the ultimate no, a slap to Putin's face, exposing his promises as cheap theater. These sharp elites witness the older generation's trials, where 80,000 rubles crumbles against uncertainty. They spurn it, bolting not for gold, but from a regime they deem a sinking ship, hastening doom. Kremlin spin tries to sugarcoat this hemorrhage, calling it fleeting trips abroad. But ground truths and unbiased studies unveil a grisly exodus. Since the 2022 war erupted, Kaliningrad's population has plunged by 100,000 to 150,000, a catastrophic bleed for a million-strong region, amounting to 10 to 15% in mere years. That's a seismic shift, reshaping futures under heavy skies. Where do they vanish to? The sting cuts deep, a humiliating twist for Putin. They don't retreat to Moscow's comforting arms or the vast Russian heartland. They dash toward Putin's so-called foes, NATO bastions offering asylum from his chaos. How does this blow reshape Kaliningrad's very essence? Breathing turns shallow as the exodus deepens, with 1 in 5 adults watching kin depart, spreading fear like a contagious shadow. For a million-strong region, shedding 10 to 15% in 3 years feels like a body rejecting its own limbs. So where exactly are they fleeing? Feel the vibration of packed trains, the metallic tang of uncertainty in the air. This flight humiliates Putin profoundly. Kaliningraders don't seek solace in the motherland, not in St. Petersburg or other Russian strongholds. They bolt to lands he's branded enemies, NATO's embraced promising security. Gdansk in Poland morphs into a mini Kaliningrad for defectors, IT wizards, bold entrepreneurs slipping through visa cracks, Polish humanitarian passes, or work visas to stitch into this new fabric of freedom. Lithuania's Vilnius lures political escapees and truth-seekers, a hub for thinkers defying Putin's grip. Those with German roots from Kaliningrad's past stream to Berlin, seizing chances amid economic light. These paths flip Putin's narrative upside down. Russians aren't running from NATO's supposed assault, but from Putin's self-made misery, chasing NATO's relative peace. What curse does this brain leak unleash on Kaliningrad? The loss of doctors, engineers, educators, innovators kills innovation cold. Hospitals go dark without surgeons, schools mute without physics mentors. New ventures sputter to silence, tech stalls, dynamism evaporates. Left are pensioners, bureaucrats, and the destitute, trapping the region in subsidy dependence, a grim retirement zone. Putin's stronghold, teamed with elite military bases and Baltic fleet might, now faces paralysis. Critical mechanical engineering and chemical hubs in the West scramble without engineers, tech hands, IT minds. Salaries hit 80,000 rubles, yet voids halt upkeep and upgrades, UNC3 reports labor gap stalling vital sites, mirroring failures in S-400's 96 L-6E radar brains. Technological edge erodes not just at fronts, but home throbs. Mobile migrants, often with familial flight trails, spread dissent virally, eroding trust. 1 in 5 bears a departed loved one, fostering panic akin to Moscow drone jolts. National despair feeds this flood, with Bank of Russia head Elvira Nabiullina admitting unpredictability in Western sanctions shadow. If Kremlin elites can't glimpse the future, why wouldn't Kaliningrad's youth engineer pick Poland or Lithuania's horizon? Putin's anxiety exports talent from his fortress. This Kaliningrad unemployment blast isn't random, it's war's bitter fruit, exporting souls and sowing ruins. But wait, as families cling to fraying threads, a shocking revelation looms. What if this exile tied cassette into open rebellion? Feel the tension build, hearts pounding. Will Kaliningrad survive the void, or implode under unspoken rage? The air thickens with dread, every departure a ticking bomb poised to erupt. The official narrative tries to dismiss this mass departure as temporary travel, but the harsh reality paints a different picture. Since 2022, the population in Kaliningrad has plummeted by an estimated 100,000 to 150,000. For a region hosting about 1 million people, that's a loss of 10 to 15% in just 3 years, an environmental shift more profound than a seismic quake. So where are these people heading? The truth is a blow to Vladimir Putin's ego and promises of stability. Most are not fleeing deeper into Russia's heartland, they're fleeing to NATO member countries that Kremlin leaders label enemies. The southern route to Poland, particularly Gdansk, has become a refuge, a second Kaliningrad, home to dissidents, IT experts, and entrepreneurs leaving chaos behind. Despite Poland's tight visa rules, thousands of Russians, those holding Polish identity cards, have secured humanitarian visas or work permits. For many, Poland transforms from enemy territory into safety, a bridge to freedom and economic certainty. Meanwhile, Lithuania's Vilnius has turned into a hub, an assembly point for political refugees, journalists, and activists escaping the oppressive grip of the Kremlin regime. Perhaps most ironic, some of Kaliningrad's most educated and elite, families of German origin, scientists, engineers, are now flocking to Berlin and other German cities. These migration routes directly contradict Putin's propaganda. Far from fleeing NATO threats, people are escaping economic despair and insecurity that Putin himself fostered. They seek safety not across the battlefield, but beyond borders. This brain drain cuts deeper than the devastation of war. When doctors, engineers, teachers, and entrepreneurs leave, the future of Kaliningrad withers away. New companies never take root. Innovations grind to a halt. Hospitals lose surgeons, schools lose teachers, an entire generation of specialists erodes. The region's vitality evaporates. What remains are the elderly, civil servants, and the impoverished, those incapable of leaving, and what's left of the economic engine stalls. Kaliningrad, once a strategic linchpin, risks turning into a sprawling retirement community, dependent on subsidies it can no longer sustain, an increasingly irrelevant outpost on Russia's western border. The question is, who truly loses more, Putin, clinging to illusions of strength, or the region's future itself? Imagine a once thriving enclave, now hollowed out, doctors vanishing from operating rooms, engineers abandoning blueprints, teachers leaving empty classrooms behind. The spark of innovation flickers out, leaving only echoes of what could have been. New businesses stall before they start. Progress grinds to a halt. Hospitals echo with the absence of skilled hands for life-saving surgeries. Schools fall silent without voices to ignite young minds in physics or beyond. But who stays in this shadow? Picture the streets of Kaliningrad, lined with weary faces of retirees shuffling under gray skies, their joints aching from the chill wind off the Baltic. Civil servants, buried in paperwork, smell the stale coffee in dim offices. And the poor, trapped by empty pockets, feel the rough texture of threadbare coats against their skin. These souls can't afford the escape. Their presence drains the life from the region. Economic energy fades like a dying fire. Kaliningrad transforms into a vast, echoing retirement haven. It leans heavily on Moscow's handouts, begging for survival. What sting does this exodus deliver straight to the heart of power? Kaliningrad cradles Russia's cutting-edge military and industrial jewels in the west. Think of it, home to the Baltic Fleet, its ships cutting through foggy waters with a distant rumble of engines. Key mechanical engineering plants hum, or once did, with the metallic tang of oil and sparks. Chemical facilities bubble with hidden reactions, sharp scents lingering in the air. Yet even dangling 80,000 rubles tempts no one. Engineers slip away. Technical experts vanish. IT wizards log off for good. Reports from OSINT analysis hit hard. This talent void freezes upgrades. Critical sites rust in neglect. Maintenance? Forgotten. Modernization? A pipe dream. It's like watching a masterpiece crumble. The same tech breakdowns that plague frontline gear now haunt the homeland. Take the 96L6E radar, the sharp-eyed core of S-400 defenses. Its signals falter, unreliable in the mist. Technological gaps widen, not just in battles afar, but right here, in Russia's own backyard. How does a leader sleep knowing his fist weakens from within? Flash back for a moment, to a young engineer's workshop in Kaliningrad, years ago. The whir of machines fills the air, oily rags clutched in calloused hands. Laughter echoes with colleagues over fresh brewed tea, steam rising warm against the cold draft from cracked windows. Dreams of building the future hummed like the tools themselves. Now? That warmth is gone, replaced by the icy bite of uncertainty. What twisted fate turns promise into peril? Those fleeing aren't isolated wanderers. They're connected, mobile souls with stories of escape in their circles. Migration spreads fast, like whispers in a storm, infecting one home after another. 1 in 5 adults feels it close. A sibling's suitcase packed at dawn. A cousin's goodbye hug, heavy with unspoken fears. Social bonds shatter. Trust evaporates like morning fog over the Preakle River. Panic seeps in, thick as the salty sea air. Is this mere numbers on a page? No. It's the war's chill invading kitchens nationwide. Mirroring the dread of distant drone hums over Moscow's rooftops at night. Hearts race in the dark. Families huddle, hearing the low buzz that never quite fades. This brain flight surges on national despair. Listen to Elvira Nabiullina, Russia's bank governor. Her voice, steady but strained, admits the fog. New Western sanctions? Impossible to forecast their bite. Official words confirm the chaos. Insecurity reigns supreme. Rhetorical thunder, if the Kremlin's own oracle stares blind into tomorrow, why wouldn't a bright mind from Kaliningrad cross into Poland's lights, or Lithuania's calm streets? The regime, in its paranoia, ships away its best, straight to the borders it fears. But wait, what if this leak becomes a flood, washing away the last defenses? The future remains completely uncertain even for the most powerful inside Kremlin towers. If top strategists cannot predict what lies ahead, it is only logical that a young engineer from Kaliningrad would consider seeking opportunities elsewhere, Turkey, Poland, or Lithuania. The insecurity plaguing Putin's regime is forcing intelligent, skilled individuals to abandon their homeland. They are leaving because they see no hope here, only chaos and instability. This exodus isn't a random occurrence, it's the inevitable result of a crumbling industrial backbone and devastated logistics. While Putin pours billions into fueling the war machine, civilian life has ground to a halt. The entire economy is trapped in an opaque recession. Industry, tourism, retail, every sector is suffering. Since 2022, EU sanctions and restrictions by Lithuania have ripped apart Kaliningrad's supply chains. Nearly half of its imports, steel, metals, construction materials, coal, high-tech products, have disappeared. These restrictions have crippled transportation routes and shattered the region's economic foundation. The data reveal this bleak reality vividly. Industrial output has dropped by nearly 25%. Major factories like furniture manufacturers, Avtotor, and Bolt Motors have completely shut down. Thousands of workers are losing their jobs, pushing unemployment through the roof. Shipping costs are soaring. Moving a truckload of cement, once costing 70,000 rubles, now demands over 420,000. Profit margins evaporate, layoffs multiply, and growth stalls. Nearly half of transport companies, employing between 15,000 and 18,000 workers, are left without cargo. Imagine the heavy scent of burnt rubber, the cold shock of economic collapse seeping into every corner of daily life. How long can this destruction continue before the region simply dissolves? The answers seem lost amid the deafening silence of factory shutdowns and closed borders, an ominous warning of what lies ahead. Kaliningrad, a fortress at Russia's western edge, has long been a military pivot, surrounded by NATO allies. But beneath its steel walls, an invisible crisis is quietly unraveling, an economic and humanitarian collapse that leaves this heavily fortified region exposed to a perilous geo-economic blockade. The weakness in Kaliningrad's armor isn't just military, it is rooted in its fragile economy, entirely dependent on transit routes through neighboring Lithuania. Imagine this, a single decision by Lithuania, its government claiming national security concerns, could sever the vital rail and road links that support Kaliningrad's entire existence. Without these pathways, groceries, fuel, medicines, the very essentials, would vanish from shelves overnight. The region's economy, which relies heavily on imports, has a disturbingly low capacity for resilience. Its lifeline? The transit through Lithuanian territory, which is now a geopolitical poker chip in a high-stakes game. The Lithuanian foreign minister's stark warning that transit could be halted completely turns this vulnerability into a powerful weapon. It's an ominous shadow over every factory, every home, and every hopeful young professional contemplating possible exile. Why invest when tomorrow's supply lines could disappear? Why stay when a political decision might turn Kaliningrad into an isolated island of scarcity? The reality is, the region is at the mercy of external political moves, and that uncertainty spreads like a virus among its ambitious youth, already considering escape routes out. So, how will Putin respond to this rising rebellion? Will he sit and watch the exodus grow? The first, and most logical, move might be to forcibly halt the flight of its citizens, imposing travel restrictions reminiscent of the Soviet era. The once permitted freedom to cross borders is now viewed as a critical threat, a security hazard. Every engineer, doctor, and young person fleeing the region isn't just leaving behind a job, they are potentially becoming messengers to the West, carriers of information that could undermine the regime's rule. The idea? Reinstate the infamous exit visa system, but under a new guise, targeting Kaliningrad's residents specifically. This could mean confiscating passports or imposing strict controls, effectively turning the region into an internal prison. As the exodus accelerates, the region's brain drain intensifies, draining Kaliningrad not just of talent but of its very future. It's a hostage situation, nation against its own people, with the Kremlin's security measures tightening in response. The question remains, could economic dependence, political suppression, and external threats soon turn Kaliningrad into a forgotten wasteland of empty streets and silent factories? The true cost of this strategy risks transforming a strategic military outpost into an uninhabitable fortress, cut off from both Russia and the world, a relic of soaring ambitions and shattering vulnerabilities. The real twist? These internal struggles threaten to undo the very strength Putin believed was unbreakable. In this dire crisis gripping Kaliningrad, it's not just people vanishing into the void, it's the very lifeblood of Russia's western fortress draining away, turning potential allies into silent enemies whispering secrets to the other side. And now, with eyes on egging Putin, the fear claws deeper. These emigrants aren't mere deserters, they're covert traitors and spies in the making, carting forbidden knowledge straight to NATO's doorstep. So, brace for the Iron Curtain's return. Under a fresh guise, the Kremlin will resurrect that infamous Soviet exit visa nightmare, tailor-made for this oblast. Can you feel the cold steel of paranoia? Picture it, outlaws in disguise, clutching mobilization decrees like shields, barring the gates for soldiers to be, tech wizards, healers, and gear grinders in key trades. Passports snatched like children's toys in a tantrum, borders morphing into unyielding checkpoints veiled as mere customs rights. Here, in Europe's heart, Kaliningrad morphs into a gilded cage, an open prison encircled by foes, no escape hatch in sight. What twisted fate when the jobless tally swells to 21.7%? Putin's gambit flips the script to war's brutal communism, ditching free market dreams for forced labor carnivals. Rhetorical fury boils, how do you quench a fire by fueling it? Sense the acrid smoke of desperation, factories choking on lost dreams. Autotour, once churning sleek western rides, gets seized by decree, warped into tank-mending pits, drone-forging hubs, or explosive birthplaces. A slap to efficiency's face, yes, but magically erases unemployment from the ledgers. Those fired women, accountants, bosses, service pros over 40, herded into army supply chains, hospital wards, or netting looms for pennies, masked as patriotic service. The crueler punch? Youth, trapped in poverty's grip, staring down barrel starvation, army becomes the lone savior, hunger's cruel conductor urging signatures for that grim frontline pact. Kaliningrad's ruin births cannon fodder, famished souls bartering lives for scraps. And Putin's ace up his sleeve? Ideology as a scarlet cloak, since riches betrayed him. fear and fury reign supreme. The plot twists sharper. Kremlin spins this meltdown not as their screw-up, but the West's shadow plot to raise Russians. Imagine the bitter taste of betrayal, voices echoing lies across crumbling halls. Officials paint Kaliningrad's plight as external sabotage, their hands clean, fingers pointing at ghostly invaders. Whip up hatred to mend the wounds, humiliate the so-called foes by blaming migrations on Western sirens luring to pure away. Yet, this veil can't hide the sting, forcing folk into war's mom might patch stats, but it's adrenaline on a corpse, delaying the bang. Survival through bans and blasts isn't life, it's a ticking clock to collapse. How long till the walls crack, and the exodus roars louder? What desperate measures await, with whispers of broader riots lurking? Feels like the chill of exile, the rumble of empty wallets. Will Putin seal the cage forever, or ignite the spark that burns it all? In this exposed fortress, every barred door echoes a question: is freedom's price paid in blood or bolted shut for good? Imagine walls rising around a once vibrant city, trapping dreams in the chill of fear. Could Putin's iron grip on Kaliningrad doom it from within? In the last moments of our tale, we saw how the leader's desperate moves, sealing borders with old Soviet shadows, forcing families into war factories, and twisting blame toward Western foes, aimed to stem the tide. But fear, that bitter wind howling through empty streets, can't hold back the storm forever. Yet, these steps? They merely paper over cracks in a crumbling foundation. Picture it, an economy gasping like a patient on endless adrenaline. The pulse races, but exhaustion creeps in, muscles weakening, vision blurring. No true healing here, just a frantic delay before the inevitable crash. This path leads straight to isolation's grim shadow, turning Kaliningrad into an echo of forgotten regimes, starved of fresh ideas and human spark. Productivity withers like frostbitten fields, innovation fades into silent workshops, heavy with the scent of rust and regret. Social bonds fray, replaced by whispers of distrust in dimly lit kitchens, where the clink of sparse utensils marks another meal of scarcity. To cling to power, the leader must shatter what he built. That shining gem of Europe? It's being remade into a fortress of despair, barred gates slamming shut, poverty's chill seeping through cracked windows, military drills thundering like distant warnings. No more bustling markets alive with laughter, just patrols echoing on cobblestones, and the weight of chains unseen but felt in every heartbeat. History whispers a brutal truth: erect the tallest barriers you dare, but when hope drains from eyes like blood from a wound, those walls tremble. They crack under the pressure of silent rage, toppling in a roar that shakes the earth. Empires built on coercion? They don't endure, they erupt from within. And now, the shocking twist that seals this saga's fate: what unfolds in Kaliningrad isn't mere financial ruin. It's the quiet execution of a grand illusion, the leader's prized emblem of triumph, strangled slowly by his own unyielding hands. As the enclave fades into twilight, one burning question lingers: will this spark ignite the end of an era across the vast lands beyond? The air grows still, the story closes on echoes of what might have been. Imagine the fortress of Kaliningrad crumbling under its own weight. What if the bedrock of Vladimir Putin's regime, the loyal middle class, was vaporizing before your eyes? Unemployment soaring by 21.7%, hitting 1,949 souls, but striking the very heart of his support base. In Part 1, we explored Kaliningrad's transformation from a promised armored stronghold to an economic wasteland, choked by chaos that cripples trade and industry. Now, picture this twist: the punchline of this turmoil targets not fringe rebels, but the steadfast urban professionals who banked on stability. Can you smell the despair in the air, like stale bread forgotten on the table? Over 70% of the jobless are women past 40, accountants, managers, slammed by layoffs as cash flows dry up. Their 7-month hunts for work echo with silent fury, families feeling the pinch of empty shelves. How ironic, as Putin's war machine guzzles resources, leaving civilians to starve. But wait, hold your breath. What if this unemployment isn't just a blip, but a gateway to exodus? Here, picking up from the invisible chokehold on civilian livelihoods, fueled by diverted funds to endless conflicts. Let's unearth the seismic brain drain tearing Kaliningrad apart. Feel the cold sweat of anxiety gripping young minds? IT wizards, engineers, skilled workers aged 25 to 44 flee not for riches, but safety and freedom. Nearly 500,000 resonate with this exodus, choosing Poland or Lithuania over Moscow's false allure. Each departure hums a humiliating defeat for the regime, proving trust in rubles has evaporated into thin air. Yet the plot thickens. Why are these elites dumping high salaries for uncertain borders? Continuing from the unprecedented flight of talent, exposing cracks in Putin's propaganda promises. We trace the humanitarian wreckage back to core reasons. Hear the hollow clang of a social contract shattering? Putin's vow of stability hinged on this apolitical middle class, insulated from politics. But stats scream betrayal, torn agreements, recessions hidden behind bravado. Those over 40 casualties represent frozen commercial veins, overheated war economies sidelining life essentials. Their prolonged joblessness, ballooning to 7 months, fuels quiet rage at home. And here's the gut-wrenching cliffhanger: if the core loyalists break, what horrors await the exiled youth? Building on the revealed betrayal of stability for the faithful, we examine how this ripples into broader despair. Often overlooked, paralysis grips remote eastern hubs. Taste the bitterness of oversaturated markets? In agrarian enclaves like Slavsk and Ozersk, 2 or 3 contenders battle for each spot, local governance overwhelmed. It amplifies the exodus, draining the region's vitality. A toxic cycle of panic infects families, whispers of departure spreading like a fever. But brace yourself. How does this talent hemorrhage cripple Russia's vital defenses? Shifting from rural job famines echoing nationwide insecurities, we dissect the catastrophic brain drain's toll on Kaliningrad. An aging, subsidy-reliant ghost town looms. Sense the stagnant air of a dying ecosystem? Doctors, innovators, teachers vanishing. Stifling growth and innovation. Surgeries lapse, classrooms empty. Military bastions, from the Baltic Fleet to advanced industries, face dire shortages, no engineers, no repairs. Much like the faltering 96L6E radar propping up S-400 systems, asymmetry reigns supreme. Domestic lines fracture. And in this crumbling stronghold, what forbidden irony unfolds in their new homes? Here, we uncover the stark contrast of escape, as the exiled defy Putin's fears, embracing supposed enemy lands. Poland and Lithuania, NATO's embrace, become havens. Feel the unfamiliar warmth of Gdansk streets? Russians with Polish heritage secure visas, blending into economies far from the Kremlin's shadow. Vilnius pulses as a hub for dissidents, old Kaliningrad hands turning to Germany. Refuting propaganda, they're fleeing Putin's instability, not alliances. Twist incoming: if even insiders bolt, can the walls hold? And what elite secrets does this unveil? Advancing from the ironic refuge in Poland and Lithuania, we reveal gripping emigration surges. From 2022, the oblast sheds 100,000 to 150,000 souls, a seismic 10 to 15% drop. The exodus, touching 1 in 5 households, mirrors drone-induced anxiety. Incentives soar, mechanical wages hit 80,000 rubles, up 82%, but security trumps pay. No faith in the war's future. Panic viruses through networks. What's left in the aftermath? A barren landscape, where the regime's exported talent booms elsewhere. And you? Ever considered crossing that invisible line yourself?